Welcome to this explainer. Okay, if you have ever stared at a massive spreadsheet full of receipts, color-coded categories, and complex formulas only to just completely abandon the whole thing a week later out of pure exhaustion and, yeah, maybe a little bit of shame, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're throwing those complicated, guilt-inducing spreadsheets right out the window. We are replacing them with a stress-free, psychologically backed financial framework known as the three-bucket system. Over the next few minutes, we're going to break down exactly how it works, why traditional budgeting is failing so many of us, and why your brain is fundamentally wired to prefer this streamlined approach. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this by looking at a pretty harsh macroeconomic reality. Recent surveys uncovered a statistic that is honestly just staggering. 27% of Americans currently have zero emergency savings. And I don't mean low savings, I mean literally zero. We are looking at the highest level ever recorded. More than 2 in 5 Americans couldn't even cover a $1,000 emergency expense from their savings right now. That means one flat tire, one unexpected medical bill, or, one minor home repair is enough to completely derail their financial lives. The margin for error has totally evaporated, leaving millions of people operating without a safety net in a really unpredictable economy. And look, when the savings aren't there, debt inevitably rushes in to fill the void. American households now carry a massive $18.59 trillion in total debt. To put that into perspective, when you break that massive figure down, it averages out to just over $105,000 per household. That is a heavy, suffocating amount of weight for the average person to carry around every single day. The stakes here are absolutely critical. It affects how people sleep, how they perform at work, how they interact with their families. The current way we manage, or, fail to manage our personal finances is quite literally pushing households to the breaking point. The old tools just aren't cutting it against this kind of pressure. Which brings us to a really fascinating contradiction. Ask around, and 95% of Americans will tell you that budgeting is more important than ever. They know they desperately need it, but as you can see, the actual behavior tells a completely different story. Close to 30% skip it entirely because they mistakenly think they just don't need one. Then you have a striking 12% of people who are literally too financially anxious to even open their banking apps. The mere thought of seeing their balance induces total panic. But the biggest group here, making up that remaining 58% of non-budgeters, are those who say they know it's important, but they simply lack the time to do it. And this brilliantly illustrates the generational divide when it comes to who is actually succeeding at this. The 18 to 29 age group is doing reasonably well, right? 61% are staying within their budget, mostly by leaning on digital apps. The 59 and older crowd is doing even better at 64% adherence, though they heavily favor your traditional spreadsheets or pen and paper. But what is super fascinating is that middle group, those aged 45 to 59. They are consistently exceeding their budgets and really struggling to stay on track. This is often the peak squeeze of life, right? You're balancing kids, aging parents, mortgages. But whether you use an app or paper, there's a core reason why so many people across the board are failing and claiming they just don't have time. The real reason people say they lack time is what I like to call the 15 category burnout. When you try to track 15 highly specific categories, groceries, gas, entertainment, dining out, subscriptions, coffee, the whole shebang, you are fighting a daily war with your own brain. Every single purchase requires a mental calculation. I mean, do I categorize this Target run as groceries or is it home goods? It causes massive decision fatigue. You aren't lacking time. Actually, scratch that. You are lacking mental energy. You're asking your brain to do the exhausting work of micromanaging every single dollar. And naturally, your brain eventually just gives up and quits. So how do we fix this? Enter the three-bucket system. This is a beautifully flexible framework that completely eliminates the need for that daily microscopic tracking. You don't need to categorize that $5 coffee or build a giant spreadsheet anymore. Here's exactly how the three buckets break down. Step 1 is your fixed or bills bucket. This is your rent, insurance, minimum debt payments, and utilities. These are your absolute non-negotiables, and this bucket is always automated first. Step 2 is your spend or lifestyle bucket. Food, fun, and discretionary spending. The beautiful thing about this bucket, it represents completely guilt-free spending. If the money is in there, you can spend it without a second thought. And finally, step 3 is your future or goals bucket. This handles your emergency fund, investing, and accelerating your debt payoff. So the crucial point here is that of these three, bucket 3 is your absolute financial lifeline right now. Why? Because recent data shows that people carrying credit card debt are paying an average interest rate of 22.83%. If you are caught in that cycle, that interest rate is literally eating your wealth alive faster than you can build it. Bucket 3 isn't just about saving for a rainy day. It's the tactical deployment of your capital to kill high-interest debt so you can actually get ahead. It is the bucket that buys your future freedom and restores your peace of mind. Now, what's really interesting about this is that the three-bucket system isn't just a basic life hack. It's actually rooted in real behavioral science. It leverages a psychological concept called mental accounting. Basically, this is the behavioral tendency we all have to treat money completely differently based on where it's physically kept or what we've labeled its purpose to be. Our brains naturally prefer to manage choices simply and visually rather than mathematically. So by creating hard boundaries around our money, we're finally working with our psychology instead of fighting against it. We're letting our innate mental shortcuts keep us financially safe. When you put these two methods head to head, the winner is incredibly obvious. Those 15 category spreadsheets cause endless burnout because they require infinite willpower and constant retroactive tracking. But when you use the three-bucket system and actually put those buckets into physically separate banking accounts, something magical happens. The physical separation creates structural friction. It automatically stops you from blowing your emergency cash on an impulsive weekend trip simply because that money lives in a completely different account that you don't even look at when you're booking flights. You don't need willpower when you have a good system. Let's see how this builds into the ultimate goal. As one write-up perfectly framed it, the system becomes automatic rather than something you have to fight with every month. I mean, that is the absolute dream, right? A completely automated operating system that cures decision fatigue and significantly lowers your financial anxiety. Once your paycheck lands, your fixed bills are paid automatically from bucket 1, your future goals are funded automatically in bucket 3, and whatever is left over in bucket 2 is yours to spend without a single ounce of guilt or hesitation. It just takes the emotion out of the process entirely. So what should your actual percentages look like across these three buckets? Well, that will naturally evolve over time, based on your income and exactly what season of life you're in. But if you want a starting point, drop your age group and rough income in the comments below, and I'll help customize your exact three-bucket percentages. The real question is whether you're going to keep fighting a losing battle against your own brain, or if you're ready to give your dollars a dedicated job, automate your future, and finally get your time back. Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and good luck building your buckets.